Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
And check out that eye, that's exactly what we want to see. Woo, look at that panel, baby. And that, as they say, is that. It's been about 5 years since the last Criminal book. I am the Uncanny Omar, you're watching Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and today I'm going to be talking about Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' The Knives hardcover from Image Comics, and yes, a criminal book. And welcome back, everyone. Before going any further, a big thank you to the folks at Image Comics for sending us a copy of this hardcover. So we are looking at the latest Criminal Universe book. It's been a few years. As a matter of fact, I think the last one was in 2019. 2020 is when the Cruel Summer came out. And then, of course, we had the Cruel Summer Deluxe Edition that came out. I think that one actually came out in 2020. So it's been 5 years since we've had a story in the Criminal Universe. So really quick, before I go any further, to kind of give you an idea of how the Criminal Universe is collected. Criminal Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Cruel Summer, and The Knives. Yes, The Knives is a standard edition hardcover. These are deluxe editions. Perhaps when they write more stories, they can collect them in another one of these hardcovers. But this is technically the way they're supposed to be read. Do you need to read any of this in order to enjoy this? 100% no. You don't need to read anything from the world of Criminal to enjoy this. This really does read like a good standalone crime story, and that's what makes each and every one of these Criminal books work. This is technically volume 11 because the previous one have been released in trade paperback since the days of Icon, when it was published by Icon, which was, of course, Marvel Comics, but then, of course, Image reprinted them, and they started giving us more books. Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, The Knives. Brubaker and Phillips don't hit a wrong note. Shane Black in a Criminal book, just in case. Image logo, Knives, a Criminal book by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, and then the back of the book, which also shows more love from Shane Black, Publishers Weekly, Brian K. Vaughan, and Joe Hill. And then the ISBN, retail price, Image logo, $29.99. And Criminal is soon to be seen on Prime Video. So I guess it will be a streaming series. There is no dust jacket, and as you saw a little bit earlier, it is a standard size hardcover, meaning that it's not as tall or as long as a deluxe edition. But let's go ahead and talk about the stories that are collected in here and look at this artwork, and of course, see if there's anything extra in the back. Let's go ahead and get this opened. And you have the Hollywood sign as the end sheets. It's a nice touch. And you have your title page right here, The Knives, a Criminal book by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, colors by Jacob Phillips. The Knives. I like how epic that looks right there. Frank Kafka Goes to Hollywood. Now, this book has a total of 200 pages. There were no single issues. Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips have been telling the Criminal story since they took it over to Image Comics as almost like an album, like European album style of storytelling. They just drop a story whenever they want to. It's been 5 years since the previous one. So this is a big deal for a lot of us. We've been waiting a while, and I'm all here for it. And to me, anytime you have a new story from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, no matter if it's a Criminal Universe book or not, I'm in. So what I meant earlier when I said that you don't need to have read anything before this to understand what's happening here, not at all. Because let me give you the pitch. The pitch really focuses on two different sets of characters. You have Jacob Kurtz, who is the creator of this comic strip called Frank Kafka, who's very much like Chester Gould's Dick Tracy. He gets called in 2012 to go to Hollywood because his comic strip has been picked up by a production company, and they're going to base a TV show on his, or they're using the comic strip as the basis of a TV show that's going to be called the exact same name. I think it's just going to be called Kafka. And he's there as a consultant, as one of the executive producers, and as one of the head writers. So that's his business here in Hollywood in 2012. And here he learns a little bit about the business and how Hollywood people kind of treat each other and what they say about each other behind each other's backs. And at first he feels like he really doesn't belong because he's a guy that comes from a different world altogether. And that world is a fictional city. Yeah, that plays a big part, of course, in all of, kind of like the backbone of all of Criminal, and that is Center City. But he is now in Hollywood, and he's learning about the game. He lives like in a little apartment complex where a bunch of like movie stars live, a bunch of gone-by movie stars. And long story short, what ends up happening to him is that he runs into his aunt, who was married to a gentleman who used to write a lot of movie and TV scripts. And apparently they have a lot of money in Hollywood, and they have a lot of acres, and that's what people want. And she mentions to him that once she passes away, he will inherit all of that. She is 90-something years old. And she's like, now, I'm telling you right now, I do plan on living a long time. And he realizes that. Now, what he does is he ends up like drawing the producers and just kind of making fun of them, making them like little animals. And he gets really close to one of the assistants, and they start having this little love affair. But this is the setup, and I promise I'm not spoiling anything. Because what ends up happening is that the assistant pretty much sells him out to the director and the producer that lets him know that, hey, this guy, Jacob Kurtz, is a punk. He's making fun of you all behind your back. So they make him sign a deal just to kind of sign away the rights to Frank Kafka. Oh, cool. I'm sorry. It was called Frank Kafka P.I. And it lasted 8 episodes and got canceled because he had nothing to do with it, because he pretty much got fired. He just got money for the rights, and that was it. Because he was talking about behind people's backs. Now, the main part of the story, though, does come towards the end, where apparently his his aunt has been kidnapped, and these people want $100,000. So we'll come back to that in a little bit. Then we go to another story. This is the story of the Undertow nightclub, but really it's about this girl named Angie who's being raised in the Undertow nightclub, and the gnarly is the guy that's racing her, and she is kind of doing things that are not good, but it's to pay bills and to keep the bar open, and a lot of things happen here. These stories are about to be connected because Angie's story and the story of Jacob Kurtz are about to come to a head when something bad happens to Angie. Eventually what happens is they end up losing the Undertow, and she gets mixed up with a pretty bad guy. And this guy ends up working for this new guy named Mr. Hyde, who you'll find out later on just how much of a jerk he is. And how evil of a person he is, because his father was once the kingpin of all of this stuff that's happening. But yeah, I do love the way that they break down like what really is happening behind the scenes. Like you see Angie's boyfriend Logan here, him and his buddy Freddie, what they really do. She thought he was a paramedic, but what is it that they really do? And how does it have ties to Mr. Hyde? Now, that's basically it. That is the story of the Knives and how both of these stories are coming together. There is another character that appears later on that if you have read the books, you're like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. But I don't want to spoil that. I want people to be genuinely surprised, because I did. I love going into these books not knowing who is going to be right around the corner, and it's a character from the past. Now, if you have read these already, if you've read all of Criminal 1 through 11, or at least the 4 hardcovers, there are connecting characters here. You know, for example, that the character that draws the cartoon strips, Jacob Kurtz, he was friends with other people like Leo and Ricky Lawless and Tracy Lawless, and they all grew up together. And you know that Jake Gnarly Brown, he's the owner and manager of the Undertow, and all of it is connected. And I love that about the criminal world, that every one of these little side characters have a big part to play, and they're all living their own lives. And when you think, like, I remember when the first 6 issues that came out, I remember when that got finished telling the story of Leo Patterson, I thought, wait a second, the next few issues are not going to tell that story? Like, I wanted to know more about Coward, but instead we started reading about Lawless. Like, at first you're thinking, wait, I don't want to know about a new character. I want to go back and talk or read more about the character that I've already invested so much time in. But these guys make you forget about that really quick, because you get immediately invested in these characters. Because I remember reading about Angie, and I'm like, oh, but I wanted to go back and read about the character of poor Jacob Kurtz, who got kind of kicked out of Hollywood. But it doesn't matter, because the stories are connected. And I was just pleasantly surprised how it kind of all comes together, and with like twists and turns at every corner. Let's look in the back here to see if there are any extras. There is an afterword by Ed Brubaker talking about how this kind of came together and the idea behind this. And then more work from Ed Brubaker. They really need to reprint the Kill or Be Killed Deluxe Edition. And there's another Icon book that has not been reprinted by Image, and I wonder why it hasn't. It's not the Fate. Is it Fade Out? No, it's a superhero one. And then, of course, the biography on the creators here. So that's all I will say about it. This kind of gives you a small idea as to what the story is about. Let's look at the build of this. 200 pages, an original graphic novel, sewn binding, printed in this thick, glossy paper stock. Much like the other criminal books, this is mature content because of language and violence and some sexual content. But that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this hardcover, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this book. In the comments down below, let me know if you've picked it up and you couldn't put it down. You just had to go ahead and read it. You don't care if there's going to be a deluxe edition later. You will pick that up when it comes, but you gotta have your criminal kick. Love this universe, and I just love everything that these two do together, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. But that's it for me, everyone. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.